Hey guys, I'm back with another writing lesson. And I want to first talk about what you think you're better at as a writer. The last lesson we did was all about setting goals and what you have been working hard on making better. So I have a little list here, and I want you to make a fist. And for each thing that you are doing better, I want you to put a finger up, or for each thing that you're doing in your realistic fiction writing. Starting stories on your own without help. Put a finger up if you're doing that. Creating pretend characters. Put a finger up if you're doing that. Creating trouble in your writing. How many of you are doing that? How about stretching out the trouble? How about fixing the trouble? What about a satisfying ending? Put a finger up if you're adding satisfying endings to your stories. How about writing a lot of details? Thumbs up if you're, or finger up if you're doing that. What about stretching across the pages? Put a finger up if you are doing that. How many of you are on your second hand of fingers? You have more than 5. If you have more than 5, you're doing really well. Today, I think that you're ready for something new, and some of you might have already been doing this. You're going to become series writers. Sometimes when writers imagine a character that they really like, they stick with the character for a bit and create more than one story about that character. Now, some of you may already have been doing that, like the story I showed you, the Gretchen story in her treehouse. She might have many different stories about her adventures in her treehouse, and you might have been writing about the same character. So maybe some of you are already writing a series, but I wanted to show you some series books. Henry and Mudge is a series. I have 3 different Henry and Mudge books. A series. Junie B. Jones is a series. We read several books with Junie B. Jones in it this year. Mr. Putter and Tabby. This is the one we're using for reading. Nate the Great is a series book. All the stories about Nate the Great and his mysteries. Amelia Bedelia. She has, her books are a series. They're all about her. Okay? Now, in Small Moments, you were the most important character in your stories. You were writing a series about yourself because you were in every story. Now we're going to write a series about your character, the pretend character that you're making up. For example, I might write about the Max series or the Max and Bob series. Remember, I wrote the story about them going to the grocery store. Now we need to figure out what series writers do to come up with more than one story about a character. And you need to think about, we're going to look at the Henry and Mudge series and think about what you can do that's the same as what they do. Okay, think about some series that you've read or series we've read together, like Junie B. Jones, and what do they have that makes them a series? What do those authors do that you could do? So if I'm looking through the Henry and Mudge books, I have these 3 Henry and Mudge books. Henry and Mudge and the Get the Cold Shivers. Henry and Mudge and the Bedtime Thumps. And Henry and Mudge and the Forever Sea. And there's many, many more Henry and Mudge books. Well, one thing I noticed is that Henry and Mudge are in all the stories. Now, what's something else I noticed? Well, it looks like, just from the covers, that all of these stories are not the same day. Like this about the cold shivers when they get sick is not the same day that they go to the beach. So the stories are not the same day. Each day is a new day or maybe a new night. In the stories, we not only meet Henry and Mudge, but we meet the mom and the dad, and we meet when they go to Grandma's house, we meet Grandma. So we get to know the characters and their friends. In Mr. Putter and Tabby, we get to know Mrs. Teaberry, Mr. Putter's friend. So you get to know the families and friends of the main character. We also, I noticed that we see the characters in the same place a lot of times. Like in this story, Henry and Mudge and the Cold Shivers, they're at Henry and Mudge's house in the Forever Sea. Before they go to the beach, they're at their house. So we see them a lot of times in the same place. We see the characters in the same place. Junie B was at school a lot, or at her house a lot. Mr. Putter and Tabby are at their house a lot. So we see them in the same places a lot. So your stories could take place in the same place. They could just be a different adventure. We see the characters are the same in the stories. Mr. Putter and Tabby, Mrs. Teaberry, Junie B and May, and all of her other friends, Lucille, Henry and Mudge, and Mom and Dad. The characters are the same, but they're different stories or adventures, okay? So you're going to make a series, just like Cynthia Rylant did with Henry and Mudge. And you're going to keep going with the character. You're going to keep the same main character in your story, the same family and friends. And you're going to keep writing about them. And you're going to give them new adventures. Like one of the Junie B books, she went to Hawaii, remember? So it was the same characters, but she started out at school, which was the same place as usual, but then she went to Hawaii. So what you can do now is you can take one of the characters that you've written about in your stories and use them for your series, or you can create a new pretend character that you want to write for your series. If you were in the middle of a story, you can finish that story and then decide if you want to use one of your characters that you've written about for your series or make up a new one. But from now on, I want you to write using the same character. We're going to write a series book just like Henry and Mudge and Junie B and Mr. Putter and Tabby and Poppleton. One thing that series writers do is sometimes they have their character get into similar trouble. Like in the Amelia Bedelia books, she's always getting into trouble for not listening. Same with Junie B. Junie B gets in trouble a lot for not listening. Henry and the Dirty Dog series, Henry's always getting into similar trouble. In Scooby-Doo, they're always going on, they're always trying to solve a mystery, but the mysteries are different. And sometimes they're called nosy, like they're minding other people's business, but then they end up solving the mystery. So you could get your character into similar trouble. If, for example, if you were writing about a character that got in trouble for not listening, maybe the character could get in trouble again for not listening in a new story. But the thing that series writers do is they have them get out of trouble a different way. So, for example, the first time that they get in trouble for not listening, they might get out of trouble by apologizing or saying they're sorry. But the next time they get into trouble for not listening, maybe they'll remember what their mom told them, and then they will get out of trouble. And that's what makes series writing so fun, or reading series books so fun. Because you get to really know the characters well, and you kind of know what they're going to get in trouble for, but you don't know how they're going to get out of trouble. Okay? So you're going to see if you can do this. And remember to keep your same character that you've written about before. You can make up a brand new one, and you're going to just write about new adventures that they have. They can get into trouble the same if you want, but getting out of trouble should be different. I've attached a paper to this lesson that tells you some things about series books that you should keep in mind when you're writing yours. So take a look at that, and I can't wait to read your stories. I'll see you next time.